Welcome to Asian Survivor YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about transmigration programs, opportunities and challenges. The Transmigration program was an initiative of the Dutch colonial government and later continued by the Indonesian government to move landless people from densely populated areas of Indonesia to less populous areas of the country. This involved moving people permanently from the island of Java, but also to a lesser extent from Bali and Madura to less densely populated areas including Kalimantan, Sumatra, Sulawesi, Maluku and Papua. The program is currently coordinated by Ministry of Villages, Development of Disadvantaged Regions, and Transmigration. The policy was first initiated by the Dutch colonial government in the early 19th century to reduce crowding and to provide a workforce for plantations on Sumatra. The program diminished during the last years of the Dutch era, the early 1940s, but was revived following Indonesian independence, in an attempt to alleviate the food shortages and weak economic performance during Sukarno's presidency in the 2 decades following World War II. In the peak year of 1929, in the Sumatra's east coast, more than 260,000 contract workers were brought, 235,000 of them from Java. Workers entered into a contract several years long as coolie. If a worker asked for the early termination of the contract in the company, desertion, he could be punished with hard labor. The mortality rate was very high among the coolies and abuse was common. After independence in 1949, under President Sukarno, the program continued and was expanded to send migrants to more areas of the archipelago, such as Papua. At its peak, between 1979 and 1984, 535,000 families, almost 2.5 million people, moved under the program. It had a significant impact on the demographics of some regions. For example, in 1981, 60% of the 3 million people in the southern Sumatra province of Lampang were transmigrants. During the 1980s, the program was funded by the World Bank and Asian Development Bank, as well as by many Western governments, who appreciated Suharto's anti-communist politics. However, as a result of the 1979 energy crisis and increased transportation costs, the budget and plans for transmigration were severely reduced. In August 2000, after the 1997 Asian financial crisis and the fall of the New Order, the Indonesian government again reduced the scale of the Transmigration program due to a lack of funds. Under the restructured Department of Manpower and Transmigration, the Indonesian government maintains the Transmigration program, although on a far smaller scale than in previous decades. The department assists in annually relocating approximately 15,000 families, or nearly 60,000 people. The rate has shown gradual increases in recent years, with funding for transmigration activities at $270 million, 2.3 trillion IDR, and a target of relocating 20,500 families in 2006. The program again intensified in 2019. The stated purpose of the program, according to proponents in the Indonesian government and the development community, was to move millions of Indonesians from the densely populated inner islands of Java, Bali and Madura to the outer, less densely populated islands to achieve a more balanced population density. This would alleviate poverty by providing land and new opportunities to generate income for poor landless settlers. It would also benefit the nation as a whole by increasing the utilization of the natural resources of the less populous islands. The program may have been intended to encourage the unification of the country through the creation of a single Indonesian national identity, to augment or replace regional identities. The official position of the Indonesian government is that there is no separation of indigenous people and settlers in Indonesia, because Indonesia is a country of indigenous people, run and governed by and for indigenous people. It argues instead for the use of vulnerable population groups, which can include both tribal groups and the urban poor. Therefore, Indonesia has passed the transmigration process with the aim of spreading or distributing of the population into other islands. This transmigration system, of course, gives some possible effects. Here are the effects of transmigration in Indonesia. 1. Social jealousy. The transmigrants, after their arrivals, are given the very large land and also the model to start the plantation. It can lead to jealousy from indigenous people who are not provided with facilities, as like transmigrant figs. The destination area for transmigration is usually the empty land, but there have been a local people that stay there any longer. The arrival of the new residents of transmigration could lead to new social problems, especially if the local population felt the arrival of transmigration residents would disrupt or act impolite to them. 2. The transmigrant don't feel comfortable. It is not impossible for transmigrants to feel uncomfortable living in a transmigration destination, so they would decide to return home to their home. The discomfort feeling causes transmigrants to work half-heartedly in transmigration destination areas. As a result, the government will experience financial losses. In the meantime, the instability of transmigrants will be a bad precedent for the transmigration program. It is not impossible that people will be reluctant to migrate after knowing that transmigrants feel not comfortable in transmigration destination areas. 3. The dispute between the tribes. The dispute could happen between the two tribes due to some factors. While the transmigrants have the bad way of adaptation, automatically the native people of the region would feel annoyed. While they could get more success, the locals feel jealous of transmigrants. There are so many conflicts. It is necessary for the role of local government in managing the socio-cultural diversity in the transmigration destination, so that the negative impact of transmigration is not getting worse. 4. Spend much state budget. For general transmigration, the transmigration requires the substantial budgets. The government should prepare the needs of transmigrants, such as houses, living expenses, and so on. Although transmigration of self-help and inner group also needs the state budget, their budgets are still relatively small compared to the general budget of transmigration funds. 5. Accelerate the deforestation. The destination of transmigration usually has the rare inhabitants. The area is just like a really green forest. Imagine while there are many transmigrants live and stay, the trees will automatically be cut down and become new settlements for transmigrants. Then, the possibility of natural disasters will be increased toward the transmigrants, local people, and of course the government that has spent much money on the transmigration program. 6. The bad prosperity for the transmigrants. It would possibly happen when the transmigrants get a destination area where the agricultural potential is low. It would be getting worse when transmigrants come from non-agricultural areas. They don't have any farming skill at all. Moreover, while the transmigrants don't work seriously, not only transmigrants, but also the government will also suffer losses. 7. Reduce the rate of unemployment. Transmigration could be an effective way to cover up the unemployment in Indonesia, especially for transmigrants. Unemployed transmigrants in their hometown can get the land that would be their source to get the good income. In addition, there are many employments in transmigration destination areas, so there is no reason to be unemployed for transmigrants. 8. The better life for immigrants. Due to the empty land being cultivated and the job that available would make transmigrants have a decent income and able to live better than when they live in their hometown. That is why the problem of poverty can be minimized by transmigration. the immigrants would be able to fulfill their daily needs really well. 9. The good population distribution. Indonesia is the country with the bad population distribution. The most populated area just located in Java Island. Moreover, in other islands such as Borneo, Sumatra, Celebes, and the small islands there have the rare population. Then, one of the purposes of transmigration is to distribute well the population. Equitable distribution of population will make the economy, a region, or country to be better. 10. Unite the Indonesians. Transmigration could be the one way of the unity for many tribes in Indonesia. It could prove that Indonesians could live together comfortably, although they come from the different background and tribes. This unity program hopefully could minimize the conflict among the tribes and region. 11. The use of empty land. One of the requirements of the transmigration destination is the unused land. This land will be utilized by the transmigrants optimally, whether it is used as agricultural or plantation land. By this way, the empty land in the transmigration area can be utilized. It also would maximize the importance of agricultural in Indonesia. 12. Increasing the crops. The utilization of empty land in transmigration could help Indonesian economy. By maximizing the use of the empty land, the result of the crops in Indonesia will increase rapidly. One of agricultural production that will increase is the rice farming sector. As you know, rice is the main food for most of Indonesian society. Thus, the rice supply in Indonesia will be abundant. 13. The transmigrant would leave their family at the hometown. Usually, the transmigrant would live separately with their family in the hometown. Consequently, they would live far away with their wife, parents, even children. This way of life would be reluctant of the family conflict. If they couldn't manage themselves well, it would increase the number of divorce. Although the transmigration program failed many times in the Sukarno government, the New Order regime continued the program in the first 5-year development plan, Repalita I. During the New Order era, the transmigration program seemed to focus more on developing areas outside Java than reducing population density on the island of Java. The transmigration program continues to adapt to all its challenges. Apart from being related to political developments such as regional autonomy, challenges also arise in line with the development of our country, which is hit by the economic crisis. When the economic crisis hit during the transition from the New Order to the Reformation Order, the transmigration program also stalled. Various economic, social and political upheavals made the transmigration program seem to have been sidelined. Yes, although in the end it is still maintained and continues to this day. However, the transmigration program has recently developed a paradigm. In fact, initially transmigration only focused on equal distribution of population, became an integral part of regional development, and its implementation was adjusted to the characteristics and specific conditions of the region, and required the implementation of transmigration to have a more cultural insight and local wisdom.